Hello, Los Angeles. Hello, lovers of the black and gold. Hello, fans of Major League Soccer. And of course, hello to the millions
and millions
of Defenders of the Bank listeners. It's good to be back. It's good to come out with a Game 1 win. It's awesome that it was against Seattle. Pretty cool that it started early, and yeah, we are rocking and rolling. But first, introductions are at hand. Even though this is episode 289, I would hope to God you know who the hell we are. But in case you don't, my name is Philly, the platinum-haired flamingo, or otherwise, after today, the forgotten defender. More on that later. But of course, sitting on the other side of the interwebs in Lawndale, California, the mouth of the South Bay, my partner in pod and my brother in life, J.R. Liebert.
The Scarf. What is good, Defenders Nation? Let's go. April 29, 2018, March 3rd, 2019, March 1st, 2020, April 17th, 2021, February 26, 2022, March 4th, 2023, and now February 24th, 2024. Market 7 for 7 LAFC, and bring the hate. I know, it's me. Hi, Scarf. I said 2-2, and I get to do one of my least favorite things on this podcast right now. Philly was right. That's right. I said it out loud into the microphone so that y'all could hear. Philly, your score prediction before the match was?
2-1.
2-1. And of course, LAFC says, hold my scarf to my prediction. And 2-1 it is, baby. Hey, Philly, how good was it to be back at BMO? It was like the first day of school. We talk about this all the time. We didn't set up our tent because, we were getting there a little late. And by the way, it was only like a 2.5 hour tailgate, but it was so good to see everybody back at BMO.
Hold on a second. Let's just rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you say? I was what?
You were right.
Oh my God. Hang on.
Oh, goodness.
I'm going to harness my inner Roman Reigns, like I said. Acknowledge me. That's right. I was right. In fact, I'm really baffled by the fact that you thought that LAFC was going to roll out with a tie, considering how fortunate we have been with home openers, considering how fortunate we've been against Seattle as of late. And come on, man, first day of school, that's like saying your score prediction was like coming into the first day of school and automatically getting detention. Boo to you, teacher. I'm glad people booed you. I saw it on the comments. I'm glad people hooted and hollered at you on Christmas Tree Lane. What were you thinking?
I'll tell you what I was thinking. I underestimated, and y'all need to stop with all the hate for him, by the way, because this is ridiculous now. I underestimated one Steve Cherundolo. Let me tell you, pulling all those different players together the way that he did. Now, I will say something I didn't know, which was kind of neat. This was courtesy of LAFC PR. 8 of the 14 players that played in today's match were also a part of the team that played in the 2023 MLS Cup final. 8 of 14. That's a lot more than I had figured. But listen, some of those big names that we didn't have out there, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get into the roster, but obviously, no Maxime Crepeau, no Giorgio Chiellini, no Kellen Acosta, no Chiqui Palacios, no Carlos Vela, all out there on the starting lineup and made for a little bit of trepidation in the Scarf's mind. I never talk about myself in third person. I apologize. In my mind, it made for a little bit of trepidation. So, I was worried. I'll be honest. I was worried. Seattle, an extremely talented team, but we'll get into everybody that they were missing today as well. And look, sometimes you just get them wrong, and Scarfstradamus was incorrect today.
Yeah, so maybe we retire that mantle and give me some cool prophet name. We just, instead of like the platinum-haired flamingo, the prophet with the hair flamingo. I don't know. It's just something like that.
we could work on that.
Not nearly as cool. Either way, I was glad to be right. I would have preferred to have been wrong with LAFC getting the clean sheet, in particular with the amount of nice saves that Hugo Lloris made. But like you said, it was good to be back at the bank. You didn't I didn't realize how much I missed it. I mean, I'm so still switched on with indoor soccer and college basketball and all these other crazy things that I get to call that I literally haven't even thought that much about MLS just because like the bandwidth for it is just not there. But the minute I got to my seat, looked around, saw those familiar faces. Actually, no, backtrack. The minute I got to Christmas Tree Lane and saw those familiar faces, felt good again. But it wasn't that long ago, even though it felt like months ago. It's crazy. We're talking a couple of months was the last time we were all together. But when you sit in that arena next to whoever it is that you normally sit next to or stand next to or whatever the case may be, it just feels so good to be at BMO Stadium. And it's just a reminder, not that we really needed it, but a reminder of just how amazing our club is, from our stadium to our team to our atmosphere. I mean, really appreciate LAFC in so many ways.
Yeah, look, the only thing I think that kind of rubbed everybody the wrong way today was the $60 parking. That was about it. Yeah, $60, man. It's absolutely nuts. Look, we got
the $175 jerseys.
The $175 jersey, the $60 parking. Man, I remember the good old days. That's for sure. Look, we want to just remind everybody.
And 50, I don't know if they were that good.
Still, we want to remind everybody that the Mo Fascio Futsal Court fundraising effort is still underway. Head over to lafc.com/Mo-Fascio to donate so that we can get this futsal court built in Mo's honor. Let's get into some of our segments for Andy's favorite nocturnal podcast. That's us here at Defenders of the Bank.
Give Andy a shout out without recognizing his podcast.
I mean, I give him a shout out anyway, but yeah, go ahead. His podcast.
Oh, are you just saying this because you don't know our good buddy Andy's podcast?
Well, I had deleted that part from the show notes for this one, so go right ahead.
Oh, my God. Andy, are you hearing this? All right. Well, I'm going to end the mystery. And the only reason is I was stalling to make sure I got the name right. I had to put it up on the Instagram. Kicking the Reel by our good buddy Andy Deosa. Like he's a Yahoo sports writer. He's done a lot of amazing things. He asks a lot of great questions in the press conference. He's from my neck of the woods, the Northeast, and he's a Rhode Island FC fan. He's been covering this club for a long time, and he does a phenomenal job at it. So make sure you check out his podcast. It's not just about LAFC. It's just covering MLS in general and doing a lot of other things within this beautiful sport. So if you're going to say we're Andy's favorite nocturnal pod, you got to recognize his show, Kicking the Reel.
Man, you're getting way too much love in the chat right now. Thickety Wicket's giving you some love. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
This is going to be a rough week for me, guys. I got to hear this for the next 7 days.
Acknowledge me.
We're going to talk real quick, get into some news and notes all about LAFC. We will actually have a very quick Angel City Minute and LAFC 2 update, and then it will be time to talk about the opening day win against Seattle. So excited. Just a quick reminder, if you're not already, please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Defenders of the Bank, and on X at Defend the Bank. This day in LAFC history, of course, we kicked off our season February 24th. February 24th. It seems like it's getting earlier and earlier, except, I don't know, a couple of years ago we kicked off February 26th, so it couldn't be all that much earlier. So if you are indeed with us live right now and listening, then February 24th, 2018, the kits that Philly and I are wearing went on sale for the first time. LAFC officially launching sales of their home black and road white YouTube kits 2/24/2018. But if you're listening to this tomorrow, Tony, you can see yourself out. If you're listening to this tomorrow, February 25th, well, on February 25th, the year doesn't matter because I don't want her to get upset. The birthday of one Kim Caldwell Harvey. I believe she just goes by Kimberly Harvey now. The wife of Jordan Harvey, but of course, our official Canadian national anthem singer at LAFC. She's also sang the American national anthem before. She is unbelievable. Also on February 25th, 2018, LAFC earning our first ever club win, sort of, in the fourth preseason game in team history, a 1-0 win over Sacramento Republic FC with Joao Moutinho scoring the goal. Technically, this was our first ever road match, too. It was played at Papa Murphy's Park in Sacramento. Just sounds like a quaint little establishment there in Sacramento. Real bummer what happened with the Sacramento Republic and their supposed journey to and then quickly out of Major League Soccer. And lastly, on February 25th, 2019, that was a busy day for LAFC. 3 things happening. Not only did ESPN Plus debut the 10-part series We Are LAFC, highlighting the first season of LAFC football, but Twitter also debuted the LAFC emoji icon. And of course, who can forget the iconic signing on a 6-month loan from Queens Park Rangers, 3 umlauts himself, Nico Hamalainen, joining the black and gold. He would unfortunately also in his career join Carson, so he is officially banned from the rest of this episode. That is this day in LAFC history. Philly, Tony asked for it, so where's Hello Kitty?
What do you mean?
Just show. There you go. Thanks.
I'm right here, Mr. Scarf.
All right.
Big
We'll get
to Tony.
We'll get to Hello.
I'm shrieking. I feel like I'm hitting puberty in my voice.
I don't know what's happening with Hello Kitty's voice at this point.
It happens when you scream at BMO Stadium. All the shots by Denis Bouanga that hit the woodwork. I lost my voice. But shout out to Tony for recognizing me. And Mr. Scarf,
yeah,
just like Philly said, one more time, acknowledge me.
Oh, my goodness. Goodbye, Hello Kitty. We'll see you later on in the episode. Philly, a couple different news and notes, but the first one, kind of a bummer. A couple of days ago, it was announced, unfortunately, that one player already done for the season for LAFC, and that would be Lorenzo De La Valle.
Yeah, I think that sucks. I'm a big fan of Lorenzo's. He's a big supporter, defenders of the bank. Always see him in the comments, the chats. He just signed onto the senior side playing at LAFC too. Was training at Juventus with their youth side. Giorgio Chiellini was a big inspiration to him, and sadly, he tore his ACL in preseason, and it stinks. Just a promising young man, at age 19, like we said, coming in from Juventus, played with their U17 and U19 sides, and yeah, it's a bummer. Lorenzo, I know you do listen to the pod, man. We wish you all the best and a speedy recovery. The glass half full perspective on this is, bro, you're not even old enough to drink a beer. So that means your ability to heal is pretty darn good. You're still an X-Men in terms of your regeneration power. So speedy recovery. Be careful with it, and we hope to see you soon.
He can head back to Italy, drink all the Peronis he wants. That's for sure. The kid is
not if he wants to get back and play.
No, that's true. But you know what? He's got a little bit of rehabbing to do first. Lorenzo, look, I'll talk a little bit more about Giorgio Chiellini at the beginning of talking about the match. But, man, let me tell you, kind of a protege of Giorgio's. I know Giorgio kind of took Lorenzo under his wing a little bit too. I mean, who wouldn't? The Juve product from the Juve legend. Bummer about Lorenzo De La Valle. Hey, we could, by the way, I meant to bring one in. Damn it. Do you have the lineup card close at hand by chance?
If you give me a second to boot out of here, I'll be right back.
Yeah, go get the lineup card real quick while I talk about this.
Hang on 1 second. Let me just
hang on.
Sure.
Not sure where. Oh, boy. All right. Great. Love it. So here's the deal. If you look at the back of our lineup card, and I'm going to have Philly show it in just a minute, and he's obviously not in a hurry because he's currently placing headphones on one Hello Kitty while Hello Kitty hangs out on the microphone. Go, Philly. He can't even hear me because he doesn't have the headphones on. Philly, you're a mess. Big deal in looking at the back of the lineup card. If you see, we had the Rage Against the Machine cover with Aaron Long on the front. Kudos again to LAFC's art team, graphics team for all of that. But on the back, man, Seattle had a full roster listed. If you guys turn over the back to the back of that Rage Against the Machine lineup card, we're talking a full, deep roster. I don't even know how many players were listed there. And then you look over on our side of the roster, and it was sad news bears. Let me tell you that. We're talking about maybe 10, 12 fewer players listed on the LAFC side of things. Well, fear not. Maybe we get another player. We brought back Eduard Atuesta. Who knows? On Friday, Toronto FC announced it had placed forward Adama Diomande on waivers. Who knows? I mean, look, you could do a lot worse than having your 4th or 5th striker off the bench being Adama Diomande. Of course, since leaving LAFC in August of 2020, Dio has played in just 33 matches and just 2,270 minutes. But He did score 9 goals and dish out 2 assists in that limited action playing in China, Qatar, Norway, and Toronto. Here is Philly. Philly is back. Philly, if you wouldn't mind holding up to the camera the backside, so we can see the disparity between, no, not Hello Kitty's backside, damn it. Flip it over. Look at there's a little bit of a glare. Hold it a little further back. Look at the length of players listed for Seattle, and then our sad length of players listed for LAFC. We are going to need some depth. And Philly, I just threw it out there. You and I talked about this earlier. I know he hasn't played a ton, but he has scored 9 goals in limited minutes. Adama Diomande back as a free agent. He's on waivers from Toronto. Why not?
No. I love Dio, but that's just like getting your 2-2 scoring line for game 1. No. Look, Dio's done, bro. At the end of the day, Dio is done. If he couldn't get it done in Toronto, for a bad Toronto side, by the way, what makes you think that he's going to flourish in this system? At the end of the day, we're trying to get younger and trying to get faster. At the end of the day, Dio would hinder that process. Do you see the engine on Kike Oliveira and Mati Bogusz and Denis Bouanga? Adding Dio to the lineup in his present form would slow all of that down. Not interested. Love the guy. Let him come here. Let him so he can cheer his name. But for him to put on a black and gold jersey and get on the pitch, nah.
Just thought I'd throw it out there, testing the waters for Black and Gold Nation. Real quick, Angel City Minute. Angel City had a preseason match today out at Coachella. They drew Bay.
That's original.
Bay FC, Bay City FC, Bay
FC.
Bay Cities. Love Bay Cities. Good food. Bay FC, they drew them 0-0. So that's the Angel City Minute. They kick off their season against that same team, newcomer Bay FC at BMO versus Bay FC, 7 p.m. When is that? 2 weeks from now, right? 2 weeks. We got our first Angel City match. And then LAFC
we got the Angel City Chicks to talk about.
No, that's absolutely. Follow at Angel City Chicks. They'll talk all about that. Philly, what are you doing for St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day is the day of the LA Marathon. Panda is running the LA Marathon. So number one, I'm going out to support her and all the members of the Black and Gold Running Club, by the way, because that's freaking awesome. I wanted to train and do the marathon, but my knees can't do it, man. I've done 3 of them, and it took its toll on my body. But the other thing we're also doing is calling a soccer game that day. It's the Empire Strikers taking on the San Diego Sockers at Toyota Arena. And if you haven't and want the opportunity to see Marco Fabian and Miguel Ponce, because they're starting to get Ponce is starting to play, and Marco Fabian's become one of the hottest scorers in the league. Come hit me up. Come visit me. Jonathan, the doctor, and I will be in the booth calling the game. So that's what I'm doing St. Patty's Day.
So you're not going to LAFC 2's opening match at Titan Stadium at 1 p.m. against Loons 2.
Yeah, that'll be a negative. I'll probably be peeling Panda off the concrete by then after she ran a 26.2-mile race.
Yeah, 26.2 miles without anybody chasing you for any good reason whatsoever. No, thank you. But you know what? More power to Panda for it. That is why she is awesome. Philly.
Well, that among many other reasons.
You ready? Let's get into this, my friend. LAFC and Seattle, dare I say, the league's 2 showcase teams in the Western Conference since we have come in to MLS. Philly, last year we were separated by just a point. 53 for Seattle, 52 for LAFC, 14 wins apiece. It was just a draw and a loss that separated us in the standings. Philly, 2 teams that, like I said, the benchmark of winning and success in Major League Soccer over the last 6 seasons. And, of course, the last time we took on the Rave Green of Seattle Sounders was up at Lumen Field last season's Western Conference semifinal in what I feel will go down as one of the more important wins in club history, going into the mouth of the lion and defeating Seattle on a 30th minute Denis Bouanga goal in last year's Western Conference semi. A beautiful, well-played match by LAFC, and of course, still in the back of the mind of everybody there in Seattle.
It's amazing. You basically took everything I was going to say. I got nothing to say. Might as well just end the pod. You gave them all the facts, all the facts. But like you said, 2018, we started things off with Seattle. And that's a big reason as to why we wore these YouTube jerseys. Reason number one is because Flex no longer sponsors us. So now we have some capabilities. Look, I don't care if this says Jacob Emrani on it, body armor. It'd be nice to make a couple more bucks doing the sponsorship stuff. So if there's anybody out there listening tonight that would really like to sponsor a podcast, and not just, a cute little podcast that was started out of a rec center, a podcast that was at one point the 11th most downloaded soccer podcast in the United States. Thank you very much. And thank you, Gareth Bale and MLS Cup and that run that LAFC made. But yeah, sponsor us. We like money. In addition, Scarf may have an update in regards to our merchandise. We're going to have t-shirts this year. If not, I am going to hang Scarf on the 405 and let traffic take care of him, because we are a year removed from when we had originally planned to create merch. Anyways, that being the case, the last time we took on the Seattle Sounders and opened up our stadium was late April 2018. We wore this jersey. And while obviously we had more success in the Flex Power Tool 5-year anniversary kit, got to pay an homage to this jersey, because quite honestly, it's sweet. Prior to the 5-year, it was the dopest jersey. But with us entering into the league in 2018 and up till today, 6-6 in home openers, outscoring our opponents by a margin of 12-3, which was pretty darn cool. And look, we've been one of the league leaders, ranked second in points since 2018 with 325. We got 93 wins, led the league in goals scored with 373. Outstanding stuff. And of course, at home, we do own the best regular season in Major League Soccer, of course, since 2018, with 203 points, losing just 13 regular season games. And he still thought we were going to come out with a tie. Shame, shame, shame on you, Scarf. But it's always something different when LAFC takes on Seattle, because of our history, because of the memories of them beating us in the Western Conference Finals in 2019. It's just, you elevate your game when you play a team like Seattle, and a lot of MLS pundits really predicted them to be top of the conference. So before we end the pod later on, I do have a laundry list of people I would like to acknowledge from the Major League Soccer front. So, Scarf, don't let me forget. I have several names I want to shout out.
I can't wait for this. I'll start out with one. They're heading into 2024 as the clear front runner in the Western Conference, said MLSsoccer.com staff writer J. Sam Jones. Heading into it as the clear front runner, they are not going to be at the top of the table after week one. That is for sure. But look, they are an incredibly deep and talented squad. They just keep coming. However, gone are the days of Nico Lodero. He is gone, and he's in Orlando, which is just the weirdest thing to see Nico Lodero in that purple kit for Orlando. Abear gone, Kellen Rowe gone, Freddie Montero gone.
Abear was never really there.
Yeah, but you know what? He was a depth piece that made them a little bit more exciting on the front line later in the matches. But the big names to talk about today, Albert Rusnak, depth piece up front, great striker. He's out with injury. Joao Paulo, who I have gone on record saying is one of my favorite midfielders to watch in Major League Soccer, he's out with injury. A player we nicknamed the Problem, Yeimar Gomez Andrade, a hulking backliner who pairs with Jackson Reagan to form two 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" guys there on that back line. Yeimar is out. And the big shocker, I don't know. I have to go back and look, Philly. Have we ever played Seattle Sounders without Stephen Fry in net? I don't think we have. This is our 19th time playing Seattle in our 6 or 7 year now history. And no Stephen Fry, picking up a hamstring injury in training in the lead up to this match. So forcing Russian-born, Stanford-bred Andrew Thomas to make his MLS debut.
Very Russian.
What's that?
That's very Russian.
Right? Lots of injuries for Seattle coming into this match.
Yeah, lots of injuries indeed. And look, but they got a couple of signings, one in particular that you referenced. And man, were you off on this one more sleep, by the way? Your players to watch, your scoring prediction. This is going to be a good week for me, rubbing this in your
Yeah,
face.
I
Danny
did good.
Musovski, a member of the Seattle Sounders, now no longer anywhere else. We obviously had him for a little while, and Danny the Moose is was a beloved member of LAFC, and we had big love for his brother Oliver as well. Big fan of the pod. But the signing of the 23-year-old Pedro de la Vega, while he did come in later on in the game, in the time that he played, very impressive, scored the only goal of the game for the Sounders, but this kid comes off blazing speed. In the 127 competitions that he's competed in, 17 goals, 14 assists, one of the largest transfer fees in Seattle Sounders club history at about $7.5 million. And obviously a lot of the regulars, your Nuhus, your Roldans, obviously your Jordan Morrises. I mean, these guys just keep coming at you, and well, they have Brian Schmetzer, one of the best coaches that this league has ever had, and a mainstay, along with, there aren't very many mainstay coaches in Major League Soccer. You could look at Peter Vermees. Obviously, Brian Schmetzer is one, but, I mean, the guy's a legend, not only as a player, but as a coach, too.
Yeah, they had Nathan on the back line. He started today. He's a newcomer over from San Jose, and a player who we didn't see today was Jonathan Bell coming over from Seattle. I don't think we're going to see too much of him, to be perfectly honest. Philly I guess, you know what? Let's get into the lineups. I'll get into Seattle's first. We already mentioned no Stefan Frei, no Yeimar, no Joao Paulo, no Albert Rusnak eligible for selection, all injured for today. So that means Brian Schmetzer in his 4-4-2 brings us Andrew Thomas. MLS debut for Andrew Thomas. Played most of his pro career with Tacoma Defiance of the USL. Now up with the big club. He has been the backup for the preseason, and with Stefan Frei getting hurt, again, this was a freak thing. This during the training leading up to this match this week, a pulled hamstring for Stefan Frei keeps him out. So the Russian-born Stanford University Andrew Thomas making.
Is that impressive to you or something? Because that's the second time you've mentioned Russian-born Stanford.
How many Russian-born players are in Major League Soccer right now?
Well,
at least one, but I don't know. I don't know of any others. I don't know.
I just don't know why you consider that impressive.
I don't know. Not impressive, just different. Nuprin, little, yellow, different. So on the back line, a couple players we've heard of and a couple players you're going to be hearing from, that's for sure. Nuhu's a problem out there on the back line. He's so fast. He really does just get everywhere, cleans up a lot of issues for Seattle. Jackson Reagan.
Under your skin, too.
He really does. Jackson Reagan likely taking the place of Yeimar Gomez Andrade if Nathan is going to be the main starter back there alongside the opposite center back. It's going to be Yeimar and Nathan, it looks like. Jackson Reagan, though, still a big kid, played a pretty good match. Nathan, who I had mentioned coming over from San Jose, and Alex Roldan on the opposite wing for Seattle. Leo Chu starting in place, and I was shocked that Leo Chu started this match in place of Pedro de la Vega, Phillies player to watch. They didn't get anything out of Leo Chu, in my opinion, except for maybe one good take throughout the entire match. 18-year-old Obed Vargas starting in the midfield. He's the one I think comes out when Joao Paulo comes back. Josh Atencio and Christian Roldan rounding out the midfield. Jordan Morris up top, making his presence felt very, very early on. And look, I love this kid. I got to watch him on television across the street from where he was actually playing in Peru when I was in Peru. Congratulations to Raul Ruidiaz on his 100th regular season start of his Major League Soccer career. Rounding out the lineup, the 18, Cody Baker, Danny Musovski, we've heard of him, Xavier Arriaga, and Philly's pick to click for the match, and the only goal scorer for Seattle, Pedro de la Vega. Philly, we got a lot of new names out there, even though we said 8 of the 14 players who played today featured in MLS Cup Final. I can't wait. Let's talk about the LAFC starting 11 here on opening day.
You know, it's kind of funny. If you open up your MLS app right now and you go to the stats for LAFC's game against Seattle, yes. MLS is in rare season form. They apparently had LAFC with that many players. They missed players. It's kind of funny. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the MLS is going to MLS, and MLS is MLSing in a funny way with throwing up stats for LAFC. But in between the pipes, the legendary Frenchman himself, man who has played in the World Cup, hoisted the World Cup, hoisted second place medals for the World Cup recently, played at Tottenham, had one hell of a career, and we got him for the whopping price of $350,000. Hugo Lloris, who I got to tell you, you don't know what you got until you have it. More on that later. Our back line, in particular, our outside backs, Omar Campos, and I said this on One More Sleep, the kid is really stinking good, and after a while, I love him, don't get me wrong, but after a while, he's going to make us ask the question, cheeky, who? That's how good Omar Campos is. I think his presence is going to make us wish Cheeky well, but not miss him that much. Yes, I think he's that good. Our center backs, Aaron Long, Jesus David Murillo, and then outside, we bring back Ryan Hollingshead. Our midfield, Timothy Tillman, Ilie Sanchez, rocking some cornrows with a sweatband and boots that look like basketball sneakers. I swear he could have been the professor from the N1 mixed basketball tapes from the 90s and the early 2000s. He looked like he was a basketball player as opposed to a soccer player, but I like it. I like the hair. It's different. My grandfather once said, enjoy it while you got it because you never know how long you're going to have it for. And the other side of the midfield, the return. And this was a really special moment for him. Why do I know this? Because he literally told us that in the press conference. Eduard Atuesta, the only player on LAFC's lineup that was there in 2018. And then up top, no surprise, Denis Bouanga, who, guy was aggressive as all hell. His only enemy was the crossbar. On the opposite side of him, Kike Oliveira. And the surprise to me, although I did predict that he's going to be our second leading scorer, Mati Bogusz, rounding out your LAFC starting lineup. And on the bench, I'll mention the players that we saw. Eddie Segura, finally back since the 2022 MLS Cup playoffs. Nathan Ordaz, who in limited minutes really, really impressed. And Sergi Palencia wearing not the number 30, because David Martinez has that number now, but wearing the number of Scarf's favorite player, Mark Anthony Kaye. I know, and Giorgio Chiellini.
Oh, man. When I saw him, I don't boo many LAFC players, but in my head, I was booing Sergi Palencia when he was about to check in. I was like, 14? Really? Already? We gave it away that quick? Damn it. I love you, Sergi, but that's Giorgio's number, man. I do want to apologize, by the way, to the millions.
And millions.
We have not updated them. News and notes. This is my fault. About 11 hours before the match, or maybe 6 hours before the match, LAFC actually signed 2 players to their squad. Midfielder Tommy Musto and defender Diego Rosales. We do know Diego Rosales from last year. He played in the Monterey Bay match. He's an 18-year-old kid. I mean, tons of talent. We let him off of contract at the end of the season, re-signed him to LAFC too. But midfielder Tommy Musto and Diego Rosales both signing short-term agreements from LAFC 2 for this match because we were indeed short on players. Musto's 20 years old from Hawaii, joining LAFC, the senior club, for the first time in his career. He played 8 matches for LAFC 2 last year, and Diego Rosales, just 18 years old, made 20 appearances for LAFC 2 in addition to the Open Cup match against Monterey Bay FC. So I just wanted to throw that out there. While we were very, very, very short-handed, I believe Tommy Musto might have worn 35 today, from what I understand. And I got to look
to Robbie, of course.
What's that?
No relation to Robbie, of course.
No relation to Robbie Musto. That's true. But I don't know. I'll have to look and see what number they assigned Diego Rosales. But just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we actually get into the game, the TIFO. There was talk, there was thought. We didn't know what the 3252 would be allowed to do because of the sanctions rained down on them by Major League Soccer because of the flares that had occurred. And again, the funny thing is they promote the 3252, they promote LAFC, and then they have the audacity to turn around and sanction the club, which obviously falls onto the 3252. I'm not going to get into all that hullabaloo. Like, I don't know the specifics, and I don't speak for the members of the North End. Y'all want to figure out that information, come hang out at Christmas Tree Lane and just ask members of the different supporters groups. But we do know for a fact they are allowed to have smoke because we saw smoke. And they are allowed to put up tifos. And that tifo that they put up, incredible design. For those who don't know, it's there was a popular LA band by the name of Suicidal Tendencies. We have a really good friend of the pod. He's been on the pod, great human being, Rod Diaz, who used to be a bass player for them, taking over for Trujillo when he went over to Metallica. Rod Diaz is now the touring bassist for Korn. But I mean, to have Suicidal Tendencies out there like on the tifo, really, really cool. And what was the more important part of it, you have to look at the message that was written on the skateboard, because that was a nice little message given to, I would say, Don Garber and Major League Soccer. And the message on the skateboard, if you couldn't see it, it's "You can't bring us down." Obviously, the name of a Suicidal Tendency song. So that wasn't we saw it at the beginning of the game. That wouldn't be the only time we see the tifo, but bravo on the 3252 for yet again creating another phenomenal freaking tifo. It was awesome. This was one that's certainly going to be remembered for a very long time.
Absolutely. Look, by the way, Tommy Musto, number 36, Diego Rosales, 43, and our backup keeper, Philly, in case anybody is wondering, Abraham Romero, who's really put in the work for LAFC2 and getting occasional call-ups to the big club, LAFC. So congrats to Abraham Romero. Philly, the honorary Falconer today. Are you kidding? We weren't going to go the entire podcast and not talk about the honorary Falconer, the great Giorgio Chiellini. I know, I put that up there on the screen.
But can you recall the name of his podcast now?
Oh my goodness, Kicking It
Real.
Oh
my God, Andy, we shouted you out on the podcast earlier. This guy can't remember your podcast.
I just said it.
What'd you say?
Kicking It Real.
Kick in the reel.
Kick in the reel?
Kick in the reel.
Kick in the reel.
I'm kicking real.
I'm going to kick you in something in just a minute.
I'll bring out Hello Kitty. Don't you dare tempt me.
So, look, Giorgio Chiellini being the honorary Falconer, honored with a jersey pre-match by Larry Friedman and John Thorrington. Really, really cool. Philly, you're going to talk about the banners at some point, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right, talk about them now. Why not?
Okay. Yeah, so the banners used to wave from what would be, what side of the stadium do we call that?
That's east.
That would be the north end. Yeah, the east end up on top. So that's where they had them originally waving. And I don't recall exactly what it was. BMO Facility said it was an issue with them flying and something where it could have been potentially dangerous for Ali. I don't know. To me, that was just blah, blah excuses. But where they put the banners now for LAFC, indicating all of our success, including the 2023 Western Conference Championship. If you look at the end where the press box is, south end-ish. South, what direction would that be? Southwest-ish? It doesn't matter. Yeah, southwest. Thank you, Eduardo. Yeah, they're hanging right there. So next time you're at BMO Stadium, check it out. And actually, if you're on Instagram, go to our page. I posted them there as well. So that's where the banners are going to hang. And the only time I'd imagine they wouldn't be there for Angel City games. But other than that, I hope they stay too.
Yeah, it was really cool. Good idea on the stadium ops, whoever came up with that. Nicely done. All right, let's get into it, Philly. We got the kickoff. We got the tifo. We got Giorgio. Everything we could have possibly wanted pregame. And just a couple of minutes into the match, Hugo Lloris, welcome to BMO Stadium, 1v1 versus Jordan Morris to baptize you in your MLS career like Hugo Lloris needs any baptizing in the first place, people. The guy won a World Cup with France just 6 years ago, and then, oh, by the way, went right back to the final against Lionel Messi just a couple of years ago now. He is as good of a keeper as you will ever find. And 1v1 with Jordan Morris was no big deal after Muri got a bad touch. And I got to say, Jordan didn't do enough with the ball. That one went right at Hugo Lloris. Didn't have to make him do a whole ton on that. On the counter, Kike Oliveira with a great move to lose his man. But Philly, when you got Denis Bouanga running the channel next to you, you got to be John Stockton and not Michael Jordan in that case. dish the ball to the big guy, and that would have been Denis Bouanga. Instead, he fires it right at the keeper, Andrew Thomas, when he needed a pass. But a nice start for LAFC. We got a big save by Hugo and a good run by Kike Oliveira.
No, absolutely. I mean, Hugo, look, the guy's played in some crazy hostile environments in his day. Everybody who comes in from internationally and talks about the amazingness of the atmosphere at the bank, they're spot on. But, for him to be like intimidated or whatever, not that he would, it's the home side. But the only person that I would say ever said anything funny about or honest about how he feels about MLS atmosphere is just like, which is Zlatan. He's like, are you kidding me? I played in front of the San Siro. Like 22,000 is like practice. It's kind of funny. So we knew this wouldn't be a big moment in the sense that like, whoa, the grandeur of this, but obviously a big moment because it's his first game in Major League Soccer and his first game in front of us. So he obviously wanted to have a really good outcome, and he did. And Denis Bouanga, he was aggressive today. Eduard Atuesta referred to him as an airplane. I think he meant as a jet plane because he was so fast. He was everywhere, but like he was snake bitten in the sense that his shots either didn't have enough mustard on their way to the keeper or were hit with so much tapatio that it banged off the crossbar and I'm sure caused a dent in things. But Denis was really aggressive. I loved how many attempts he had. Denis should have walked out of the arena today with at least 2 goals.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Eduard Atuesta getting things started, firing from distance in the 9th minute. All kinds of chaos in the 12th minute in front of goal for Seattle. Matty Bogusz tries to bring it down. Then, of course, Seattle defender, I forget who that was, whiffs, trying to clear it away, but unfortunately Andrew Thomas was there. Timmy Tillman took a shot from distance there in the 16th minute that was saved. But, man, Philly, you were talking about it. Snake bit. Denis Bouanga in the 17th minute. If not for Nathan, Denis Bouanga is on the score sheet just 17 minutes into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I wanted to allude to, it happened right around the 8th minute. There was a play in which the ball goes over to Hugo Lloris, and he just had such a quick, decisive moment where he had a goal kick that hit Kike Oliveira on the right wing, a sprinting Kike. I mean, what was beautiful about that was just how quickly Lloris reacted. Now, we've had goalkeepers in the past whose distribution was somewhat suspect, but how quickly Lloris saw Kike up there to get him the ball, and obviously crossing it to Denis was, something wild. But man, like I was so impressed with that scarf. That's not going to land on the stat sheet, but that's one of those things where it's like, wow, you don't know what you have till you have it. I didn't realize that we had keepers that didn't have that great a distribution other than, of course, Tyler Miller. But man, Hugo Lloris's decisiveness on there was just amazing. What?
You and the Tyler Miller. All right. I love, by the way, can I just tell you how much I love Eduard Atuesta back in black and gold? His aggression out there, and he talked about that in the press conference, right, when they asked him, what's the biggest difference between Eduard Atuesta that was here prior going to Brazil and now the Eduard Atuesta coming back? And he basically...
Puberty.
His puberty, right? And his aggression on the ball, off the ball, right? He says he's pretty much the same player on the ball that he used to be when he left, but it's his aggression off the ball, his willingness to get in there and get dirty. And we saw that in the 19th minute. We had Denis from distance in the 21st on a nice 1-2 ball, and then Denis again in the 23rd minute, 1v1 on the left, and that would be his first crossbar of the match. Philly, I got a little nervous in the 24th minute. When Omar Campos kind of pulled up. He had a quad issue or something like that going on the quad. I don't know. It took him, about 4, 5, 6 minutes to kind of work that out. They got up Sergei Palencia rather quickly, but it looked like he was okay. And then Philly again, 25th minute. Denis was just everywhere in the first 25, 30 minutes of this match.
I mean, the guy, I love his engine. Like, yes, he didn't score today, but he caused calamity for the back line of Seattle. He had some really great attempts. He was just aggressive. And here's a guy that you can tell really wants to ball out for LAFC. I know there was the talk about how happy is he going to be. He's not in Europe. Did he get the contract extension or the salary requirement that he was fishing for as a result of him getting the golden boot last year? And who's going to blame him? The guy leads the league in scoring. I'm going to want more money too if that's me. But he obviously showed us that he's here to stay and that he's here and hungry to score goals. And it was just unfortunate again that he didn't have the ability to thread the netting. But I mean, if he can continue on with this run of form, Man, I think he's going to be not too far off from where he was last season.
No, you're absolutely right. We're talking about another golden boot possibility for Denis Bouanga. I love the Kike versus Nuhu matchup. Kike winning a corner kick in the 29th minute. And again, another thing that we kind of forgot about what Eduard Atuesta brings to the table, his set-piece acumen, something that we thought we might be missing a little bit of with Kellen Acosta heading over to FC Dallas. Well, I'll tell you what, that first corner kick from Eduard Atuesta in the 30th minute, finding Ilie Sanchez going front post, and maybe he felt a little better about going up for it, knowing he had a little padding with those cornrows, those braids there, instead of that nice, soft, fluffy mane. I don't know. Maybe that's what caused it to drill the crossbar once again, the second crossbar in the half for LAFC, but a perfect corner from Eduard Atuesta.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to replace Kellen Acosta, who's taken a lot of those set pieces first. And, of course, Carlos Vela. The door is still not shut on Carlos Vela. That much we can tell you from our inside sources. The question remains, though, as to when he would be there, if and when he signs, and obviously if and when he's ready. But just not seeing Carlos on the pitch, by the way, not taking set pieces, is kind of wild, but Eduard Atuesta does give us that comfort in that position, distributing the ball exceptionally well from the corner.
When should I share my theory on Carlos Vela? When do you
at the end? Let's do the recap, right, and then we'll go through that.
Scarf has a theory. I have a theory on Carlos Vela. I'm going to save it for after the game recap. So we'll keep rolling.
We'll roll with your theories because your predictions have been crap.
So far, it's
mierda, if you will.
First game of the season. It's okay. Christian Roldan getting a yellow in the 37th minute for dissent. And then, honestly, Philly, we looked pretty good defensively. Not a whole lot going on until the 45th minute. And LAFC making things happen right before halftime.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Timothy Tillman. It was fantastic. Kike gets one into Omar Campos, has a cross that we thought was going to connect with Denis Bouanga, but that wasn't going Denny's way. Timothy Tillman in there with the one touch, absolutely slams the stitch out of the ball and puts LAFC up close to the time when the 45-minute first half, it was set to expire and both teams heading into the locker room. But man, it was class. And with Campos getting an assist, you referred to, this quad strain or whatever it was earlier on. Clearly no signs of any fatigue there because ball was brilliantly dished, and Timothy Tillman, man, absolutely crushed it.
Kudos to Timmy Tillman for getting us on the score sheet. In case you're curious, he joins Diego Rossi in both 2018 and 2019.
There he goes.
Carlos Vela.
What I wanted to say.
Oh, sorry. Carlos Vela in 2020 and 2022. Giorgio Chiellini in 2023. And Corey Baird in 2021 as our players to open the scoring for LAFC on the season. Corey Baird. That's the one I wouldn't have got. That's for sure. I just love that Giorgio Chiellini scored our first goal of the season last year. That's just
his only goal too.
Absolutely. I love that man so much. So Philly, Denny has another shot at goal from close in stoppage time, but that brings us to the whistle. And I'll be perfectly honest, I was floored at how good LAFC looked in this first half, considering who we were playing, how many new players. Just awesome job by LAFC in this first half.
Yeah, I mean, the stats indicated that the game was a lot closer than we had originally thought because from my perspective, I really thought LAFC dominated on so many fronts. They were a lot more productive on their attacks. Defensively, I thought they were fine. Hugo Lloris, in the times that he was tested, came up big. The passing was okay. There were elements where it was like a little and suspect, but they were getting inside the box. Mati Bogusz was really good on the ball, getting out of trouble, passing it around. Like, I just thought that they were very stable and consistent that way. And of course, they were very fast. They didn't have any old tired legs sprinting on the sides. They looked really good, and going into the half, you'd have to be relatively happy with LAFC's performance. But with the amount of times that we had missed opportunities, the amount of times Denny hit the crossbar, we really should have gone into the locker room with a big lead because Seattle is a second half team and a second half of the season kind of a team, and you can't leave that door even slightly ajar for the Emerald Green because Brian Schmetzer is going to find a way to kick down that door and slam it down your throats.
No, you're absolutely right. Luckily, we get off right back where we started on the front foot for LAFC. Philly, anything you want to talk about before the 55th minute, my friend?
No, not particularly.
I love it. Let's get right to it. Let's get to an absolute banger from Matty Bogusz. I mean, this one might be goal of the week candidate. I know Christian Benteke had a hat trick today. Chicho Arango scored a goal, but I would love to see any goal better than Matty Bogusz's
100th in MLS, I believe.
What's that?
I believe, like they were saying, it might have been his 100th in MLS. Speaking of Chicho Arango.
Oh, really? Oh, I'll have to check that out. That's awesome. Yeah. It was just you were kind of slow for a minute there. Not sure what happened. But, oh my goodness, this banger by Matty Bogusz. How many of you thought you were just looking at a mirror version of Carlos Vela? What Carlos Vela used to do time after time after time, dragging the ball over to his left from that right side and banging it top bins into the upper left corner. That was Matty Bogusz from the opposite side, dragging it over to his right foot, and a banger top bins upper 90. Nobody was saving that goal. It actually took us a second to realize, because of the way it bounced off the back of the netting, that it actually went in. If this is what we are to expect from Matty Bogusz, I am going to have to modify what Bramla. What's happening?
No, I messed up.
But
I'll explain that in a second.
Philly's trying to type something. This is really interesting. Either way, Matty Bogusz, if this is what we are going to see from him over the course of the season, do you imagine now having to hedge out and defend a little farther out because of Bogusz's right foot? Now that leaves more space for Denis Bouanga, for Kike Oliveira, from David Martinez, who I think we're going to see more stuff out of this season. We're going to be really pleasantly surprised by him. An absolute banger of a goal for Matty Bogusz.
An absolute banger of a Bramka. Repeat after me, Scarf. Bramka. It's Polish for goal.
I love it.
There you go.
Hopefully we're right.
And you know what was cool about those two players scoring goals, and that of Matty Bogusz and Timothy Tillman and Denis Bouanga doing their thing? Yeah, I got to give a shout out to our good friend, Relentless Ben. He said it was the most amount of hair dye and peroxide we've ever had on the pitch. So it was the peroxide posse that made things happen for LAFC.
And we looked so good. I mean, honestly, and we'll talk about it. Look, the big 70th minute hex that kind of laid over us on this match for sure. But we got to see a familiar friend in the 58th minute with Danny Musovski subbing on for Raul Ruidiaz and Cody Baker coming on for Alex Roldan. Really surprised that they put Baker and Moose out there at that point in the match. Obviously looking to press a little bit of a different button, but you mentioned it before, right? How Raul Ruidiaz just didn't really look like Raul Ruidiaz out there for the first 60 minutes of this match.
No, the Peruvian pistolier was out for the count. He was kind of non-existent, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's gone so many years where he's been bitten by some kind of injury bug where he doesn't start the game. He comes in perhaps, and I know hamstring has been something that's been hampering him for a very long time. But fortunately for us, Raul Ruidiaz wasn't in mid-season form, because we know how scary that guy can be. And when he comes in to play against LAFC, whether it's at home or on the road, Raul Ruidiaz always has a significant impact on a match, but it wasn't his day.
Yeah, and look, a couple minutes later, Philly's pick to click enters the building. That's for sure. Pedro de la Vega coming in for, was that Leo Chu, I think. And again, shocked that Leo Chu started this game, especially what we saw from de la Vega. Xavier Arriaga coming on for Nathan as well. And then Philly, just chaos from the 68th minute till about the 73rd.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got to start talking about the controversy. The controversy is where Jordan Morris had an opportunity to run, and there was a play in the box where Aaron Long was involved. And at quick replay, it looks as if Jordan Morris just steps on the ball himself, and that's what causes him to fall down. And that's why play resumed. And LAFC did go on a counter shortly after that, but the counter was to no avail. And had LAFC even scored in that sequence, the goal would have been called off because the referees. Oh, and by the way, that's something we didn't address. We've always made fun of the fact that the Major League Soccer referees from the organization of Professional Referees Organization, pretty, unique name. They're on strike. They're on strike. They are petitioning for, better stuff. I don't know all the intricacies of it, but a lot of these officials that were presiding over today's game, these weren't the same exact referees that we recall from the previous seasons. There is no Ted Uncles, and thank the freaking Lord that that's the case. Up till that point, I thought they called a pretty fair game, and they allowed the boys to play, which is what you want to see. You don't want ticky-tack BS fouls. But when they went to the video monitor, I thought, oh, great, this is going to be the first time that we're going to get to throw the scab referees under the bus. But if you look at the replay and you go a little bit, a second or two before Jordan Morris steps on the ball, you can see that Aaron Long did essentially kick him, which led to him getting that motion where he steps on the ball. So I had to watch it multiple times because it wasn't clear and decisive, nor was it for the officials because they took their sweet time with that as well. But they had a reversal of things. They rewarded the penalty kick, and they put the young designated player up 11 meters in front of Hugo Lloris. And, he went right. Hugo went left. And within minutes of him entering the game, scores. And in a way, I thought, my prediction is right. He was the player that I was looking out for. But $7.5 million, you got to get in the back of the net quickly. And he did that. And now all of a sudden it's 2-1 and scary times.
Yeah, they didn't mess around putting him right on the line. You're absolutely right. I mean, dude, that was I love that decision by Seattle. If he's going to be your guy, put him in your guy. 4 minutes into his MLS career, put him on the line. There you go. So congrats to De La Vega. I think he's going to be really, really good. I mean, he's
fast. Just that quick first step that he has.
Dude, 81st minute when Ilya Sanchez heard De La Vega go by. I don't think it's wrong. He just heard him.
He put Ilya in his pocket.
I mean, I feel bad for Ilya because we have mentioned a few times where Ilya gets run by, but there's a difference between that guy looks fast and that guy sounded fast. De La Vega sounded fast to Ilya on that one. He was all the way by him on that. Look, 83rd minute, we got ourselves a scarf sub, and this was a bus parker for sure. Kike Oliveira coming off the pitch for number 14.
Mark Anthony K?
Sergi Palencia. Look, we love Sergi. Sergi, we love you. Just why 14, man? Couldn't you let me? They handed Giorgio a 14 jersey before the match today. Oh, I know, genuine Cougar. I was wrong. I know. Either way, in the 84th minute, another easy save by Hugo Lloris. I gotta shout out. Look, it wasn't the worst game. It wasn't the best game for Ryan Hollingshead, but in the 86th minute, you got Denis on the left channel booking it down and coming out of nowhere thinking, I'm going to put more distance between me and Graham Zusi. I'm going to make the run. Denis Bouanga is going to find me. Coming on the other end, Ryan Hollingshead made like a 70-yard sprint to get to the back post. Unfortunately, when Denis tried to make the play, it was played out for a corner kick. I just love, after playing 86 minutes of back and forth football, Ryan Hollingshead still making that run. He doesn't have the young legs of one Nate the Great who would come on just a minute later, 87th minute. Nathan Ordaz in for Eduard Atuesta. And Philly, we're headed towards stoppage time. We got Timothy Tillman picking up a yellow card, but you know what? Ryan Hollingshead needs to pick up the tab on that one. If not for a terrible pass by Ryan Hollingshead into the middle, then Timothy Tillman doesn't have to make that tackle for the yellow. 6 minutes of stoppage time in Philly, something we haven't seen before at the start of stoppage time.
Ordaz to Denny?
The Tifo.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, the Tifo came back out in full effect, and just goes back to exactly what I said about the message on the skateboard. You can't bring us down. That's a message to the executives. Let's just put it that way. Certainly a message to Major League Soccer, certainly a message to Don Garber. We had never seen a Tifo come out like that before. But what was impressive was how quickly they brought it out and how quickly they brought it down.
Yeah.
It was magic. Like, if you weren't paying attention, they were that quick. the North End about putting back that tifo. It was really impressive.
I just had to put up the comment up there. If you're not watching us on YouTube, this is why you should. We're just going to leave it up there for a second. So we get into stoppage time. Hugo Lloris with another save. We saw Omar Campos cramping. We're going to talk a second about Omar Campos at the end of this match too, because love me some Omar Campos. Philly is very bullish in his prediction for Omar Campos.
Yes.
Saying that they're going to make us say Diego Palacios, who I just don't see that happening, but that's okay. But Philly, the heartstrings were tugged in the 3rd minute. It was October 21st, 2022, the last time we saw Eddie Segura on the pitch for LAFC. He played all 90 minutes in our 3-2 win over Carson in the playoffs in 2022, and we had not seen Steady Eddie on the pitch since. Philly, how good did it feel and how good did it sound when we heard, subbing into the match, Eddie Segura?
Yeah, I mean, we love Eddie Segura. I mean, if you go back several years in the past, like we had an interview with Eddie Segura, and that was even before he started getting a commanding grasp of the English language. Remember, we had one of our buddies, the twins, the translator, and now Eddie speaks English without a problem. He's been working really hard at it. I know our buddy Victor Murillo from Athletes in the Making spent a lot of time with Eduard Atuesta and Eddie Segura, and said Eddie was very focused on taking his classes. Like, he didn't want to mess around. Like, he went for it. And, you know, we always communicate with Eddie. We've seen him we saw him in Columbus as we were walking the concourse. He was with his family, and it was really cool seeing him. And we asked him, you're going to be back? He's like, I'm trying to get there. And when you mess up your knee, the amount of times that he has, not once, but twice, like,
right,
especially as you're getting older, the recovery times are harder. And then at some point, you have to ask yourself as a person, as an athlete, is this even worth it for me anymore? Can I come back? A psychological component starts to come into play, because maybe physically you can get back out there. Your body can, but maybe your mind tells you can't. But it was really good to see him out there, and he made a defensive play at one point, thwarting an effort by Seattle. So it was good to see Eddie. Clearly, he had an influence on Ilie Sanchez, because they both probably went to the same spot to get the cornrows.
Yeah, right. They did look like they had the exact same styles. They should have gone to ISIS, that's for sure. Got to go to ISIS Black and Gold.
Shout out ISIS. Shout out Oso as well. Shout out Noe, Genuine Cougar, Al, everybody in the chat, by the way. Much love. We've missed y'all.
We love you guys. Absolutely. Nate the Great doing Nate the Great things, picking up a foul there about 40 yards from goal, slowing everything down. Not a whole ton from Seattle to close it out. And Philly, God, I have to say it again, much to my chagrin, the scoreline 2-1. LAFC 7 straight wins on openings, and Philly was right.
Acknowledge me. Right here.
So, guys, how awesome.
By the way, this is Amanda's fantasy football belt. She's won fantasy football in her league 2 years in a row. It's not a WWE belt that I shelled out $400 for. I never quite understood, by the way, those people that do shell out $400 or $500 and go to the events with their WWE belts. I just feel that just be a pain in the ass. Like, I just rather just have a beer in my hand, not a belt that I didn't win. Yes, by the way, this was a good point. I did want to refer to this. When we were walking up to BMO, Panda and I, Rich rolled in his beautiful red minivan Tesla, and he yelled, "Rage Against the Machine." And I didn't really think anything of it, because all that means to me is we're going to score a lot of goals and we're going to hear Guerrilla Radio, which is a Rage Against the Machine song. And if you looked at the game card, it was the Bulls on Parade. No, Evil Empire was the
Evil Empire. Yeah.
With Aaron Long on it. But I was surprised that Zach De La Rocca was at the bank. Absolutely. LA Space FC. He was there. They put him on the big screen at one point. We had the lead singer of one of the most awesome bands of the 90s at the bank, which was really stinking cool. Especially if we use their music all the darn time. Now,
and he is
better get out there.
And he is as LA as it gets, to Rage Against the Machine with their roots here in Los Angeles. So cool to see Zach De La Rocha here at BMO. Uh-oh. Philly, do you know you're frozen?
No.
Oh, you're
Can you
frozen.
hear me?
I can hear you just fine. You're just frozen. That's all.
All right, well, you keep talking, and I'll figure something out about that.
Sounds good. No problem. Look, it was, again, we talked about it. 7 openers, 7 wins. Philly has now left us. He'll be back in just a moment. Look, our next match, guys, we are going out to America First Field in Sandy, Utah. When Philly comes back, by the way, Philly's got a list of names that he wants to highlight. And then after that, I've got my theory about Carlos Vela. But our next match, there you go. Hey, there you go, bud. Hi.
You know, AT&T was having a problem with the wireless service not too long ago. It was reported in the Wall Street Journal that 75,000 AT&T customers lost cell phone service. I'm not even getting any indications that I'm having a rough time with internet. So who knows? Maybe this is a big conspiracy theory and some, international terrorist organization is bugging the internet and clogging up the bandwidth in the United States.
Wow, you definitely went there right now, didn't you? There you go.
Conspiracy theories with the forgotten defender. You didn't address that either, by the way.
Next match, Saturday, March 2nd at America First Field in Sandy, Utah, 11 a.m. our time, taking on Real Salt Lake and Chicho Arango, who, by the way, Philly, you had mentioned the stat, 100 career goals for Chicho Arango today, 27 for Millonarios, 35 for LAFC, and now his 9th for Real Salt Lake. I know that doesn't add up to 100. He played with other clubs too, but those are the 3 big ones for him. And something to note, we are going to get through scheduling with the Scarf. So here's a quick schedule with the Scarf note. Our first 12 matches, Philly, 12, are all 7 days apart. They're all a week apart.
Wow.
No Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, which is what all last season seemed to feel like. We have 7 home matches, 5 away matches, including a match against Carson at BMO. But our first 12 matches, folks, we've got some time in between. Time to get our boys out on the training pitch. Time to heal any knocks that we pick up in the match on Saturday. And not a ton of travel, to be perfectly honest. 7 home, 5 away. So for the next 12 matches, Philly, 12 weeks.
I mean, I'll take it. I need all the time in the world to recuperate from all the craziness going on in my life. So I'm okay with that, because once basketball and indoor soccer is over and I only have baseball to worry about in terms of broadcasting, I'll have more gas in the tank. This is going to be good. I'm being selfish.
All right, so 2 quick things, Philly, that you need to touch on. Number 1, after this, I'll give you my theory on Carlos Vela. Number 1, you have a list of names. You're keeping receipts right now about some people.
Yes.
So I know you wanted to share your list of names, your receipts. And then number 2, will you share with the millions
and millions
why you are now calling yourself the Forgotten Defender?
I'll save that one for last. So my list is long and distinguished. It includes 12 Major League Soccer pundits that predicted, and obviously there's still so much time to go, but that predicted Seattle to finish in first. This goes out to Marcelo Balboa, Matthew Doyle, Brian Dunseth, Miguel Gallardo, J. Sam Jones, Sasha Kleshkin, definitely Kalen Kyle, who thinks we were going to finish in 5th. Lori Lindsay, Joseph Lowry, Sammy Sadovnik, definitely Andrew Wiebe, and Jake Zivin. Defenders of the bank and the millions have 2 words for you.
Yeah.
Suck it. If you think that Seattle is going to finish on top of us right now, you are joking. And particularly you, Kalen Kyle, putting us at 5th in the West. Ha! Hope you eat your words and hope we put all of y'all on notice. Feel free to share this. Let it circulate right now, because I know they didn't have Joao Paulo. I know there was no Stefan Fry. I may be getting ahead of myself, but if we could perform this well and stay healthy, because by the way, depth is going to be a problem with this team, in particular in the midfield, unless we could get some more signings. But I just had to say, those 2 words to all those pundits that put Seattle ahead of us in their MLS 2024 reviews and previews. So that's me, your friendly neighborhood forgotten defender, Philly.
Yeah, so what's the deal with this whole forgotten defender thing, my friend?
All right, so Scarf and I are fortunate enough to be credentialed members of the media when it comes to MLS and obviously LAFC. This is our second full season with the club. So we were told to go in the media check-in area, which is on the other side of the grand lobby, and the other side of free play, at 11:30 to go out and get the credentials. Waited in line. Scarf got there, no problem. They're looking for me, and, well, they couldn't find my credentials. And I got the email. Obviously, I got all the notes, a lot of the other stuff, but I didn't have my credential. And so I waited and waited and waited. About an hour.
Hold on. You said I waited. Go back again.
We waited. And then about an hour and 15 in or something of that nature, I told Scarf, hey, look, just go. I don't want to hold you from doing anything. He was hungry. He had to go to the bathroom. And I just felt bad. And then the PR came down with a few more of the press credentials for the rest of the people that were waiting. And I still didn't have mine. And I thought, look, I'm not just some little podcaster out of a rec room in West LA anymore. Like, you and I, at the very least, have worked our tails off to to earn some kind of respectability. And we have. We've gotten our accolades, and it's enabled us to do a lot of really cool things on even higher levels within media. But, yeah, I called myself the forgotten defender because Scarf had his credentials immediately, and Philly had to wait a couple of hours. Anyway, that was why I'm referring to myself as the forgotten defender. I'm not going to shout out any names as much as I'd like to. But
you better not. Listen.
It's kind of funny.
Everybody,
I love y'all, by the way, in media. I love you so much. Thank you. It's just funny being called the forgotten defender.
Everybody out there in LAFC PR, everybody that's involved with it, thank you. Because it was so much fun to get under his skin for just about 45 minutes or so. I needed that because you know what? At the end of the day, I got to look across from him and the millions. And say that he was right with the damn score prediction, folks. So you know what? I'm glad he got a little bit of comeuppance at the start of the match. I mean, come on. You got to give him something.
I got 2 words for you, Scarf.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledge me.
Yeah. All right. Here's my theory on Carlos Vela. Then we'll wrap up episode 289 of Defenders of the Bank. Here's my theory, folks. All right. Carlos, if you're out there, if I'm right, just shout me out. Hit me up. Let me know. But here's my theory. We all have watched Carlos Vela over the first 6 seasons, and one of the consistent things that has happened season after season, especially these last 2 or 3. Look, everybody's going to get tired after 54 games, but last season, the season before that, when it comes down to playoff time, what we see is a Carlos Vela who's a little bit more tired. He's shouldering a ton of the offensive load. He is doing everything he can game in and game out so that LAFC can be in as good of a position to win as possible. That's what he does as not just the captain, not just our best player, but as the face of the club. Face of the club since we signed him back in 2017. That's what Carlos Vela is. But we all have to acknowledge that season after season lately, his legs have been giving him problems and a little bit more tired than we would like him to be. So what if Carlos Vela is just biding his time and saying, look, while I don't love being a TAM player and maybe only making 1.5 or 2 million or whatever it is, you can do the most that we can pay him. I think it's like 1.6, something like that. While I don't love being a 1.6 player, what if Carlos Vela comes in for that TAM deal in July? So not a July transfer window acquisition, but just a July Carlos Vela has already been here in Los Angeles the whole time acquisition. We don't get him ready for Leagues Cup. He stays at the facility. He trains. He gets his cardio in. He gets his legs right so that by the time Leagues Cup is over in August, we have a healthy, fit, and ready to roll Carlos Vela. And whether that means that he comes off the bench in the 65th, 70th, 75th minute, 80th minute, whatever it might be, and gives us some goals. Maybe he's the closer. He's the Eric Gagne. He's the Mariano Rivera. Or maybe he starts and then gives way to guys like David Martinez or Kike Oliveira or Tomas Angel or Mari Bogusz or any of these other guys. I would absolutely take Carlos Vela a la Gareth Bale a couple of seasons ago. I would absolutely take Carlos Vela on the same type of deal.
I'm good with that. And look, Aaron Long said it in the press conference that Carlos's stuff is still in his locker room at the Performance Center. Oof. So, I mean, that speaks volumes. That says some stuff. And when John Thornton talks about the fact that it's MLS salary cap restrictions that are to blame for this, he's not wrong, and it's not some made-up stuff. These players get big bonuses, and they get a lot of money when they hit certain incentives, like making it to the playoffs, competing for a trophy, yada, yada, yada. And obviously that triggered a lot of things and put Carlos in a position where all of a sudden, it becomes a salary cap problem. It's unfortunate that that's the case, but that's the reality that we live in. But I love your theory. It's not a prediction because you have been not very good with that recently, but it's a really good theory. And with his stuff, again, being in his locker, I didn't see if his family was at the game. Actually, I don't even know if he was at the game, but I know the staff still talks to him and they're eagerly anticipating him. But it's also good to know that they're not just sitting back and waiting on him either. I think Timothy Tillman said something really good in the press conference to where, we prepared for the game on the field, and as much of an impact that Carlos has, they had to prepare for Seattle and not anything else.
And look, man, he's having a good time. He's in Vail skiing and doing all kinds of other stuff. Carlos is living his best life, man, and he's earned it. He's been the face of this club for the last 6 or 7 years, but absolutely, Mendo, this is fantastic. Hold on, I got to put that quote up there. But he is absolutely entitled to enjoying a little bit of time off. Carlos, if you need to, man, we will see you in July back at BMO. Number 10 will be sitting there waiting for you. I think, Philly, this will be most of, if not almost all of the lineup we will see moving forward through July. We got a lot of young talent. We did not see David Martinez. We did not see Tomas Angel. There's going to be some wiggle and some sizzle out there on the front line between those guys as well. Can't wait. Philly, episode 289, baby. We are back for season 2024, number 7, kicked off and ready to roll. Any final thoughts from Philly?
No, just really proud of the boys for stringing together their 7th consecutive home win on opening day. I love it. Keep up the good work. I'm really optimistic about this bunch. Without a doubt, this is going to be a playoff team. Love to see them really be the top of the West, which I think they have the potential to be. We're ambitious, and I love that aspect. And so many people like to clown and laugh at LAFC for a lot of these reasons. All that comes from a position of envy and hate. You can't possibly look at this club from the perspective of anything other than envy, interest, and curiosity, because what we've done in the last 6 years has been freaking phenomenal. We should have a case study written about us at university in regards to how to start a successful franchise. We are awesome. We have increased our value, obviously, because we've increased a lot of other expenses. But this is the team. This is the top team in Major League Soccer. I know the Columbus Crew are the defending champions, but they're in a small market. We're in Los Angeles, one of the biggest media markets in the world, and we're one of the top clubs, and I'm really happy with our boys and our performance.
My favorite is I asked Philly any final thoughts. He said no, but I love that. Look, you guys, Defenders Nation, we're back. We love you. We've missed you. And you know how we like to end each and every one of our episodes. This one, episode 289 of Defenders of the Bank. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, boy.